mine was, what time do you start? I don't want to be late. I want to be there when it all begins.
Yeah.
But in the Pentecostal church, we act as though we have experienced all there is to experience, and there's nothing else. God is not that small, folks.
Come on, brother. Amen.
We've seen everything. Let me ask you this. How many dead people you raised? How many lepers you cleansed?
Come on now.
You think you've seen everything?
Come on, brother.
How many devils you cast out?
Come on. Come on.
Well, 20 years ago we did that. Well, that's good. What about these devils and folks that got them addicted to prescription medication?
Come on now. Come on. That's preaching.
What you did 20 years ago ain't a drop in the bucket. Did you know there are probably not many services that devils don't attend in this life?
That's right. You preach, man.
That's right. But we've seen everything.
Come on.
You know, we've adopted this attitude, you know, that it's all about feeling good and shouting all that stuff. We come to church and we want the preacher to play the role of chiropractor. It hurts right here, Brother Jones. Pop it right there. He'll say, they'll come back tomorrow night and let me pop something else. The thing I'm trying to tell you, church is not about coming just to feel good. And it's not about coming just to shout. There's a world going to hell. I looked at it today. Over 40,000 people dying around the world today, every day. Most of them people are going to hell. And for the most part, the church is not marching off the map to reach a world going to hell.
Wow. Amen, brother.
Well, I'm moving on. Anybody remember Christopher Columbus? Now, when I was in elementary school, they told me that in Columbus Day, most of the world thought the earth was flat. They told me the same thing. Later on, they said, you know, that's probably a lie. Most of the world didn't believe that, so now I'm confused. I don't know what they thought. But I know this. I know that Christopher Columbus was a visionary. And he was an explorer. And he got some money together and he left Spain to cross the Atlantic. And in Spain, you know, they thought that Land's End was it. Nothing out yonder on the other side of that watery horizon. Nothing out there. You never thought that Columbus ever going to come back. You know that they thought that Land's End was Land's End was it, to the point that their motto was ne plus ultra, nothing beyond. About 2 years later, a little over 2 years maybe, Columbus came sailing back, and he brought people with him. He brought animals with him. He brought food with him from that other, from the other side of the world. And he said to them, there are whole new worlds on the other side of that ocean. This is not it. I came by to tell you, what we read about Azusa Street is not all there is to Pentecost. What we read about the early days of the Church of God is not all there is to this Pentecost. You haven't seen yet what God will do if he can find one person that he can fill to the point of overflow.
Amen.
Well, Columbus came back, and when he returned with all of that stuff, they changed their motto from ne plus ultra to simply plus ultra, more beyond. Now, when you're a visionary, when you're one of those people that'll march off the map, make no mistake about it, they're not usually going to have a ticker tape parade for you.
That's right.
They're not going to have a parade and celebrate your name. Most of the folks will look at you and tell you how crazy you are. I'm just saying, when you march off the map, don't expect the whole church to go with you. There are going to be some folks that'll tell you, how you're fanatic. You're a few fries short of a Happy Meal. That's right. Church folks are just like that. But listen, the thing I'm trying to tell you, when you're a visionary, when you're one of those folks that doesn't mind following God to the nth degree.
Come on now.
When you're one of those people that wants to see everything that God has for you, everybody else will not share your enthusiasm.
Come on now.
They simply will not share that enthusiasm. You remember the Wright Brothers? A couple of brothers who were bicycle repairmen. One day they put this contraption together, and it flew for several minutes. Kitty Hawk, North Carolina.
That's right.
Now, listen, they're bicycle repairmen, but they're amateur plane builders. It flew for a little while, and those Wright brothers said, one day, man's going to fly.
That's right.
Come
You know what everybody else said? God intended us to fly, He'd have given us wings. But those boys were visionaries, and they said one day, man will fly. Look at us today. We got laser-guided missiles. We've got unmanned drones. But we've got intercontinental flights every day, millions of people in the air. We're taking people into outer space and bringing them back, all of this stuff. What I'm trying to tell you is, way back, Condor, when the bicycle repairman said, one day men will fly, folks laughed at him and said, you're crazy. But look at us today. Their folks are multi-millionaires, multi-billionaires, because of that airplane industry. I'm just trying to tell you, if you have enough courage that you can follow God and march off the map, if the history is yet to record what God will do through one person, just like that.
Amen.
Can I just throw a wrinkle in this thing? Most of us don't mind following the prophecy or the prosperity preachers that, we're going to have a BMW, a Mercedes and an Audi.
Come on, right?
Yes, sir. Going to have two houses. Going to have one at the coast. Don't call it the beach. Going to have one at the coast, one at the mountains. I got a little place down at the beach. You go down there, and they got, they just got a mansion sprawled out down there, but they call it the little place. We'll follow that crowd, and we'll lose a 401k. We'll march off the map chasing that. But what about when it comes to when it comes to a man full of the devil, bone through his nose, running around naked, full of the? What about that? Will you march off the map to reach somebody who's never one time heard the name of Christ?
Come on, yeah.
Well, those Wright Brothers were visionary, but they had their share. They had their share of criticism. I read a story that there was back in the mid-1900s, there were missionaries spoken to by God to carry this gospel to a benighted region. And that God impressed upon them to take this gospel to a place that had not heard the gospel. This is what they did. They built for themselves caskets. And they put what few belongings they'd need with them into those caskets. And they left their homeland to go to faraway regions. There were Tongans who took the gospel to Papua New Guinea. And in Papua New Guinea, there were cannibals. But they built those caskets, put those few belongings in those caskets. And the casket said to everybody who saw them, chances are you're seeing me for the last time. Chances are I'll never come back here alive. I'll never so much as visit here. I'm going to do what God has called me to do, and that's take the gospel to a bunch of cannibals. And you may never see me again, but I'm willing to go. I'm just trying to tell you, folks, if you're going to march off the map, if you're going to go where God wants you to go, where you've never been before, you're going to have to be prepared to say goodbye to everybody. You're going to have to die to what you want. You're going to have to die to what everybody else wants, just to march off the map.
Amen.
Y'all about shouted me down. Everybody with me? Yeah, just to march off that map, you got it out of what you want. One of the things I found out about marching off the map is this: you cannot let even what Mama says keep you from going. To run into the will of a mama is like running into a buzzsaw. I'm married to one. That oldest son of ours, when he just got out of high school, was working at the local Hardee's there, came in one day and told his mama, I'm going to the Marines. I saw her countenance fall. I felt like hitting him right in the face. But he said to Mama, I'm not leaving today. I'm not going to be right now. Came in the next day. I'm leaving today. I should have hit him in the face.
Come on now.
We jumped through hoops to get that boy off with his friends. Going to go to Paris Island. Went to Paris Island, and he just plunged my wife into such darkness, shadows and colors. Depressed her. We'd be sitting around, she'd see shadows or colors, and she'd just start crying. Laying in the bed at night before we fall asleep, and I miss Ron. I said, dear God, it ain't like he's dead.
Come on, brother. Hey.
I said, just as soon as he graduates, we'll be able to see him. No, I want to see him now. I want him home. Well, she called that man that recruiter that had talked to our boy. And he made the mistake. He made a mistake in telling my wife, the best thing is for you is not call him. He didn't know who he's talking to. He didn't know what he's putting me through either. And he said, Miss Jones, if he's been sworn in for a second time, said, I'm afraid it'll be impossible for him to get out. She said, that's what you think. She said, I want my boy home now. I'm telling you, for the next several weeks, my wife aggravated me and God over that boy. She did. I'm telling you, she marched off the mat. She went to fasting, and she went to praying. She wanted that boy home. You know, after he'd been gone several weeks, you see, we found out later, Brother Tony, he did that to spite his mom and me. Ran off to the Marines. I said, you can sure do it, son. He ran off to Paris Island. And while he was down there, you know, he got tired of him waking him up at 4 o'clock in the morning. He got tired of them cussing in his face. Jody's got your girl and gone. There ain't no need going home. You heard him tell him? They told him when to go to bed, when to get up, how long it take him to take a shower, how long he had to eat, you know, and all that stuff. He got tired of that. He found out home ain't nearly as bad as this is. But one morning early, the phone rang. It was that boy in Paris Island. He said, I'm coming home. Everything in my house. I was so happy. My wife wouldn't cry no more. Anybody? What I'm trying to tell you, you got to be careful when it comes to marching off the mat that you don't allow the will of a mama to keep you from obeying God. I was in Wilmington, and there was this couple, a husband and a wife, had some small kids. They said that God told them to go to Somalia to serve as missionaries. Now, the mama, I don't know if it was the husband and the wife was her child, but one of them belonged to her, and she got mad. She got mad with them because they were going to Somalia. She got mad with everybody. She got mad with God because God told him to go to Somalia. Let me tell you something, folks. I've got 3 boys, don't have any daughters, 3 boys and 1 grandson. I'd rather my boys come up to me and say, Daddy, God's called me to Africa. I don't know if I'll ever come back, but God's called me to Africa. I'd rather lose him to the will of God in Africa than to lose him around the corner to drugs in my town. Somebody hear me. But what I'm telling you is, we got to get to the place that we are not afraid and we're not unwilling to march off the mat. Doesn't matter what mama says.